So I thought this was just a beautiful spot to record something. So let's see what comes up. I guess something that's coming to mind to share with me, which is always a helpful reminder for me to fall back into. And that is that you are always held by life. Right? Our minds struggle to remember this, and often our minds will fight against this to hold onto a sense of control, a sense of separation, a sense of isolation. And again, the reason we do that, we want to feel like an individual because that's the only way that we cannot feel certain things, right? So if you think of repressed emotional material, there's certain experiences that we learn to repress. And if we start to go down this awakening path, you'll see that as identities dissolve, as you do inquiries into separation, and there's different techniques, but as you do all of that, you come in touch with why you felt like a separate individual in the first place, because it's how we learn to not feel certain things. But the crazy stupid thing about the whole fucking process is that there's nothing wrong with feeling those emotions. There's no reason to repress emotions. But I guess it's this game we play, right? We want to feel what it's like to forget that we are held, that we are not apart. So yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on here, is that no matter how intense things get, no matter how much stuff comes up, no matter how much your life circumstances feel like they're breaking you, I've had that many a times early on in the process and even later on in the process. Life will bring you to your knees, because that's the only way that you can realize that there's no separate you that's actually in control. You have to be absolutely humbled. And I can only speak from my personal experience that there's been many a times when it felt like there's nothing more to come. But there's still an open, like, it's not like a finality, like that's the way that things have to be. But then it's often a surprise when it's like, whoa, who knew that there was still something there? And then you can only see it in hindsight, that there was still patterns playing out, that there was still, ego resistances. And you can feel it yourself. If you don't feel completely in flow with something all the time, then there's probably still some resistance. But I'm going off track here. What I really wanted to talk about was this deep knowing that you are always held, and rather to focus more on receiving. Our masculine minds, when I say masculine, I mean that the mind inherently is a masculine tool, mechanism, because it's based in control. It's based in trying to control, trying to fight, trying to resist. And surrender is more of that feminine approach. And I heard something the other day which I really liked, which was, once we get more in touch with our own feminine energy of surrender, we can really start to receive things from life. And for me, it's been quite incredible how this actually does play out, where you could call it manifesting, but manifesting still potentially has a bit too much of a like a feeling that you need to make things happen. It can be quite misinterpreted. For me, it's more about putting out intentions and then being willing to receive, and not needing to force things to go a certain way. And it's been incredible how life just holds you, right? It's just a totally different way of living, but it works. But you have to be willing to feel whatever you need to feel, because this is what will stop us from fully letting go into surrender, into life, because there'll be fears that will come up, right? It always comes back to the unknown. It'll be like, but if I'm really not controlling my circumstances, then maybe it will lead to an experience that I don't want. So, but when you really start to open up, it becomes quite incredible. And it can fluctuate, right? It does for me, where there's just periods of just pure awe at how things play out, and then there's periods of just intense surrender into the unknown, because it's like, wow, the ground just disappears. And there's periods when we're in flow with that, and then there's periods when we're fighting against that, and then it's always a helpful reminder for us to see, why am I fighting against this? What am I not allowing? Because nothing can go wrong. It can only go wrong if we fight against the flow, if that makes sense. But it's okay that the struggle surfaces. The struggle needs to surface because it's in the system. So when we go through these periods of resistance, when it feels like we're fighting with life again, then it's just a release. It's a coming out, really. And yeah, just always remember that even in those moments, you're always held. And maybe if you, at some point in your journey, try some psychedelics. I did a mushroom trip recently, and it was so viscerally experienced that there was just this pure okayness to everything, that I was so held by nature, by this creation. I don't know how to put it. It's very difficult to put into words, but it was this blissful, intimate love of this. You're so held. You're not anybody separate, Kyle, basically, is what I felt, and just going deeper and deeper into that. So, these kind of things can open us up, but then they also open up the doorway to the material on the other side. So my experience was, on the other side of doing that mushroom trip, was a lot of intense emotional things surfacing, and realizing that that's both sides of the same coin. Angelo says this so often, or I've heard it so often from his book and his videos, that it was very helpful for me to learn a long time ago. And now it's just kind of very clear in my experience that every moment of expansion, of kind of union, where separation dissolves, if there's still repressed emotional material, the other side of that will be the surfacing in now this open space, right? So if you have this deep mystical experience on meditation or psychedelics, then on the other side of that, you will have maybe some intense resistance coming up, some heavy trauma in the body, some deep emotional material. Who knows what's in the system? It could be anger, fear, grief. It could be very physical. I know people who've gone down the CFS kind of physical trauma route after exploring psychedelics a lot. So, you have to realize that all of this is important. It's the disintegration and the integration. It's the mind often wants to get fixated on the disintegration, which can be psychedelics, meditation, disintegrating from the human world. And specifically me, I have a tendency to fixate there. But it's so clear for me to see how important the other side of it is. Like after a deep meditation retreat or a psychedelic trip, realizing that those insights are not grounded until now we come back into all of the messiness of the human realm and see everything that gets pulled out by that. And it's just this perfect kind of dance between disintegration and integration. And as long as we don't fixate on anything, then there's never a problem, right? But the problem is we fixate on integration and we fixate on disintegration, right? You have to kind of be in this, and you will fight against it, but you kind of your fighting gets looser, if that makes sense, where you can feel, oh shit, I was fighting against some integration. Our life wants me to integrate in the human perspective, and then we get sucked into that too much. For me, it's like too much socializing, too much busyness, too much drive, and then the door opens up on the other side. Next thing, something opens up in my life where there's space for stillness again. So it's this dance: stillness, expression, integration, disintegration, form, formlessness. And they're equally important to explore both. And life will do it for you, but your mind might resist it. So that's just always what's to be open to, is what is life, where's life opening up for me now? What is life asking me to explore? And then when we can get into flow with that, or we can kind of feel into that, and it can take some time, then we can really start to see why we struggled. Because when life wanted us to integrate, we wanted to disintegrate. Right? When life was calling us to look at career, relationship, we just wanted to kind of sit and be isolated. Or if life was asking us to isolate and go deep within through maybe an illness or some tragedy, and then we're fighting it, saying, oh no, I need to socialize, I need to work on my relative life. But when you stop fixating on either one, there's truly no problem, there's no struggle. Right? So we really have to see how we cause our own struggle, so then on the other side, be free of that. So, yeah, I think that's good. Look at this spot. Beautiful little park in Groningen in Netherlands. And it's just been really nice for me to come and have some disintegration after the busyness of Amsterdam. It doesn't even feel like maybe disintegration, but more just some stillness, some slowing down. Amsterdam was really busy and fun, but this is beautiful. All right, all the best. You got this, always.